Imagine a world where the very pursuit of happiness paradoxically leads one away from it. A world where societies are constructed upon the premise that a greater quantity of possessions, a higher status, or external approval are the keys to contentment. Yet collective experience often narrates an entirely different tale, fraught with disillusionment and dissatisfaction, even at the pinnacle of outward success. This profound paradox, seemingly woven into the very fabric of our being, was unraveled more than a century ago by an American thinker whose insights continue to resonate today, shaping the worldview of leaders and dreamers. His work, A Beacon for Millions, itself encountered unusual challenges, as if confirming the truth that profound insights often meet with resistance. In 1933, amidst the Great Depression, when the world desperately sought answers to economic chaos and personal adversity, the editions of his seminal book, The Master Key System, were withdrawn from circulation, and its dissemination effectively ceased. This was not an act of censorship in the usual understanding, but rather a historical fact testifying not to its inherent danger, but rather to its extraordinary power, a power capable of overturning conventional perceptions of reality and human potential. This was not merely a book, but a meticulously crafted 24-week course that offered not fleeting prescriptions for external success, but a deep, fundamental transformation of the inner world. Charles F. Haanel, the author of this monumental work, invited his readers on a journey where harmony and happiness, as he asserted, are inherent states of consciousness, intrinsically belonging to man and entirely independent of the acquisition of possessions or external circumstances. On the contrary, possessions, achievements, and all external advantages which we so often pursue are but a natural consequence of the correct mental state, not its primary cause. This idea, turning conventional thinking on its head, became the cornerstone of the 16th lesson of the Master Key System, a lesson on spiritual understanding, which we explore today, unveiling its profound historical roots and astonishing modern confirmations. Charles Francis Haanel came into being in St. Louis, Missouri in 1866. His life, seemingly typical for an American entrepreneur of the late 19th and early 20th centuries, was in truth a precursor to profound philosophical discoveries that transformed the understanding of human potential. He was no academic or armchair theorist. His wisdom was born from the crucible of practical experience, from the real world of business, from the personal attainment of the most audacious goals. From his earliest years, Haanel demonstrated extraordinary discernment, a keen intellect, and an indomitable will to succeed. He began his career, as it is said, from naught, without significant starting capital or connections. Gradually, step by step, constructing his vast business empire. His primary enterprise, the Continental Commercial Company, became a symbol of his financial genius and organizational prowess. This company engaged in a broad spectrum of activities, from large-scale real estate operations and mining resource development to banking, insurance, and investments, allowed Haanel not only to amass substantial wealth but also to become one of the most influential industrialists and financiers of his time. He owned extensive land holdings, mines, and banks, which afforded him a profound understanding of the mechanisms of wealth creation and influence. By the time of the Master Key System's publication in 1912, Haanel was an established millionaire whose name was associated with success, financial might, and an impeccable business reputation. His book was not the fruit of speculative musings, but the quintessence of life principles that he himself applied to achieve his extraordinary results. Initially, the Master Key System comprised a series of 24 weekly lessons, disseminated by mail. This pioneering format enabled readers not merely to acquaint themselves with the theory, but methodically, step by step, to apply it in practice, mastering the principles of mental and spiritual development. Each lesson contained exercises that demanded active engagement and discipline, transforming mere reading into a genuine system of self-transformation. Among his clients and followers were not only ordinary individuals seeking a better life, but also many prominent industrialists, financiers, and political figures of that era, who valued his practical approach and the proven efficacy of his methods. They perceived Haanel not merely as an author but as a mentor, whose precepts led to tangible results in their own lives and businesses. It was precisely this real, tangible success of Haanel that lent his teachings unimpeachable authority. He spoke not as an abstract preacher or mystic, but as a man who himself had traversed the path from ordinary citizen to the head of a multi-million-dollar corporation. He asserted that his system was not merely a philosophy, but a scientifically substantiated method enabling every individual to unfold their inner potential and realize their most audacious dreams. His works became the foundation for many subsequent authors in the field of self-development and motivation. Figures such as Napoleon Hill, author of the legendary book Think and Grow Rich, acknowledged Haanel's influence on their ideas, noting that it was the master key system that inspired him to research the principles of success. Earl Nightingale, one of the pioneers of motivational broadcasting and author of the celebrated recording The Strangest Secret, also drew deeply from the inspiration of Haanel's works, frequently quoting his ideas. Even in our own day, more than a century later, Haanel's ideas continue to exert influence on individuals such as Oprah Winfrey, who has openly spoken of the significance of his teachings in her life and career, naming it one of the foundational books that shaped her success. Haanel did not merely teach how to earn money or achieve material goals. He taught how to think, how to utilize the hidden power of the mind for the creation of desired reality. He was convinced that the outer world is a precise mirror of the inner, and that the alteration of this mirror commences with a profound, conscious alteration of thought patterns and beliefs. His biography is living proof of his own philosophy, an example of how a man, armed with a profound understanding of universal laws, can literally forge his destiny, overcoming all obstacles. He passed away in 1940, leaving behind not only a rich legacy in the form of his thriving companies, but also an invaluable guide to action that continues to inspire and transform lives across the globe, confirming the eternal relevance of his sagacious words. His life and his teaching are an indissoluble whole, demonstrating that true knowledge leads to true power and true freedom. The 16th lesson of the Master Key System unveils before us one of the most profound and perhaps most paradoxical truths ever formulated in the teachings of self-development. This is not merely a recommendation or a superficial piece of advice. It is a fundamental re-evaluation of the very nature of happiness, success, and human existence. Charles Haanel urges us to undertake a radical shift in our thinking, one capable of forever altering our perception of the world and our place within it. He proposes that we realize that harmony and happiness are not external achievements that we must conquer, acquire, or earn. On the contrary, he asserts that they are inherent, internal states of consciousness, intrinsically ours and entirely independent of the possession of things, status, the approval of others, or any external circumstances. This concept turns on its head the conventional logic that dominates our society. We are accustomed to thinking that if we obtain a certain employment, purchase a desired home, find the ideal partner, achieve renown, or accumulate a specific sum of money, then and only then shall we become truly happy. Society tirelessly cultivates this notion, imbuing us with the belief that external advantages are the direct and sole cause of inner well-being. However, Haanel, drawing upon his profound understanding of universal laws and personal experience in building a vast business empire, asserts the opposite. Possessions, achievements, material prosperity, and even harmonious external relationships are not the cause, but the consequence of the correct mental state. They are but visible projections of our inner world, tangible manifestations of our dominant thoughts, beliefs, and emotional states. He writes, to realize a desire as an already accomplished fact is the necessary condition for its manifestation. In these words lies the quintessence of his teaching on spiritual understanding and the principles of creation. This is not merely positive thinking in its superficial, naive sense. It is a profound immersion into the very mechanism of reality creation, in which consciousness plays a central, formative role. Haanel proposes that we not await the outer world to change in order to feel happy, but rather actively cultivate a state of happiness, harmony, and abundance within oneself, realizing that it is this inner, anticipatory state that will inevitably lead to desired external results. He asserts that everything in the universe is subject to the law of cause and effect, and that thought, consciously directed and sustained, is the original, primary cause, and all else is its inevitable consequence. This understanding, according to Haanel, is the key to true, unbounded freedom. If our happiness and well-being depend upon external factors, then we shall always be their captives, perpetually pursuing that which lies beyond our control, amidst constant uncertainty and the fear of loss. But if happiness is an inner state that we can generate and sustain, then we always have access to it, regardless of what transpires around us. This knowledge grants us unimaginable power, autonomy, and resilience. Haanel teaches that we are not merely passive observers of life, but active co-creators of our reality, and that the power of this co-creation resides within our own consciousness, in our capacity to choose our thoughts and emotional responses. Lesson 16 is not merely a theoretical exercise. It is an invitation to profound inner work, to the reprogramming of our minds, that they may become not a fount of scarcity and eternal pursuit, but an inexhaustible source of abundance, joy, and harmony. Haanel tirelessly emphasizes that consciousness is the sole reality from which all existence emanates. He writes that thought is the only reality, and all else is but its manifestation. This signifies that everything, every circumstance, every situation in our lives must first exist in the form of thought, in the form of a mental image, before it can manifest in the physical, tangible world. This is not merely a metaphor or a poetic comparison. For Haanel, it is a universal, immutable law, as precise and unvarying as the law of gravity or the law of conservation of energy. He explains that for a desire to manifest, one must create its mental equivalent. What does this signify? It means that you must not merely to desire something in the future, but to feel it as already existing in the present. You must behold it within your inner vision with the same clarity as if it were before you, to hear it within your inner ear, to feel it with all your emotions, as if the desired outcome had already materialized in your reality, as if you were already experiencing it. This state of complete immersion, of full acceptance of the desired as an already accomplished fact, is precisely that mental equivalent which activates the universal laws of creation. Haanel asserts that the universe, or the universal mind, does not distinguish between the desired and the already existing. If your consciousness fully accepts it and believes in it, it responds not to your words or superficial, fleeting thoughts, but to a profound, emotionally charged conviction, a dominant mental state. If you constantly tell yourself, "I shall be happy when I possess," then you perpetually postpone happiness into the future, creating a mental pattern of expectation, and the universe, as a precise mirror, reflects this, holding the desired at a distance in perpetual anticipation. But if you can declare, "I am happy now, or I am grateful for," even if external circumstances do not yet correspond to your ideals, then you create a potent mental state that draws unto itself corresponding external conditions and events. This demands not only discipline of the mind, but also profound faith in invisible forces and principles. Haanel likens this process to the work of an architect, who first creates a detailed, well-conceived plan of a building in his mind and on paper, before the first stone is laid. Without this clear mental plan, without this mental model, the building can never be constructed in the physical world. Likewise, without a clear, emotionally charged mental equivalent, our desires remain but vague dreams, lacking the power for manifestation. They are akin to seeds that have not been sown in the fertile soil of deep conviction. He also emphasizes that our individual consciousness is not an isolated unit. It is an integral part of universal consciousness, or, as he sometimes terms it, the world mind, an infinite source of all energy and all wisdom. When we form a clear mental equivalent, we enter into resonance with this universal consciousness, which possesses boundless resources and possibilities for the realization of our desires. This is not mysticism, but, in his view, a natural consequence of the interaction between the individual and the universal. Our consciousness is a channel, a point, through which universal consciousness can manifest in our individual reality, bringing forth desired forms and circumstances. Thus, lesson 16 is not passive contemplation, but a call to active, conscious work upon one's inner world. It is not expectation, but a potent, creative action directed towards shaping desired reality from within. It is the understanding that we ourselves are the center of our universe, and that the power of creation resides within us, in our mind and our feelings. Thought, amplified by emotion, faith, and anticipation, becomes a magnet, drawing unto us all that corresponds to its vibration. This understanding liberates us from the role of victim to circumstances and elevates us to the role of master of our destiny, capable of creating our reality according to our own design, step by step, thought by thought. The snare into which most individuals fall lies in the mental construct of "I shall be happy when." This phrase, innocent at first glance, is one of the most potent barriers to true happiness and contentment. It perpetually postpones our well-being into an uncertain future, binding it to external conditions which, as we already know, are but a consequence, not the cause. We tell ourselves, "I shall be happy when I receive a promotion. I shall be happy when I purchase a new home. I shall be happy when I meet my soulmate." And even when these objectives are attained, the joy often proves fleeting, followed by a new objective, a new when, thus creating an endless cycle of dissatisfaction. Modern science, decades and even centuries after Haanel, has begun to confirm these profound intuitive insights with empirical data. In 2014, Shane Lopez from the Gallup Institute conducted a multi-year study involving 150,000 individuals, examining the correlation between income level and happiness. The results were astonishing and confirmed what Haanel had asserted as early as the dawn of the 20th century. There exists a certain plateau, beyond which an increase in income ceases to significantly augment the level of life satisfaction. This plateau was defined at approximately $75,000 per annum. After reaching this sum, which provides for basic needs and comfort, further income growth does not lead to a proportional increase in happiness. These findings have been confirmed by other authoritative studies. In 2010, Nobel laureates Daniel Kahneman and Angus Deaton from Princeton University published their findings in the prestigious journal Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, PNAS. Their research also showed that emotional well-being, that is, day-to-day happiness, ceases to rise after income surpasses approximately $75,000 per annum. This signifies that, while money can mitigate stress and improve quality of life up to a certain point, it is not an inexhaustible source of happiness. Further research deepens this understanding. Dr. Sonia Lyubomirsky, professor of psychology at the University of California, in her book The How of Happiness, published in 2007, presented a model according to which only 10% of our happiness depends upon external circumstances. 50% is determined by genetics, and the remaining 40% is the result of our inner practices, our thoughts, actions, and attitude towards life. This means that everything you achieve in the outer world, wealth, fame, career successes, influences your happiness by a mere 10%. The other 90% are within your control or predetermined by your inner nature. These data convincingly demonstrate that Haanel was correct. The pursuit of external advantages as a source of happiness is a mirage. The true cause of happiness and harmony lies within us, in that 40% which we can actively shape through our mental attitudes and spiritual practices. The snare of "I shall be happy when" holds us in perpetual anticipation, depriving us of the opportunity to experience joy and contentment here and now, in the present moment. It distracts us from the most potent instrument of creation, our own consciousness. The idea that the inner state is more significant than external circumstances is not an invention of the 20th century. For millennia, great thinkers and spiritual teachers across diverse civilizations arrived at similar conclusions, each time confirming the universality of this principle. Charles Haanel, though perhaps not directly referencing ancient texts, his teaching deeply resonates with the wisdom accumulated by humanity long before him. Among the most striking harbingers of his ideas were the ancient Greek Stoics. These philosophers, living more than 2 millennia ago, taught that happiness, eudaimonia, is attained through inner harmony and virtue, rather than through external advantages or pleasures. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoics, a slave who became a great teacher, formulated this idea in his famous phrase, "It is not things that disturb people, but their judgments concerning things." He asserted that we cannot control the events transpiring around us, but we can always control our reaction to them, our attitude, and our judgments. If we suffer, it is not because something ill has occurred, but because we decided that it was ill. If we are happy, it is not because fortune smiled upon us, but because we chose to perceive good in what transpired. This philosophy fully aligns with Haanel's assertion that the outer world is a consequence of the inner, and that our mental state determines our reality. For the Stoics, as for Haanel, the key to freedom and happiness lies in the conscious governance of one's inner world. Even deeper into history extends the wisdom of Buddhism. Prince Siddhartha Gautama, who became the Buddha, attained enlightenment by realizing that the root of all suffering, dukkha, lies in tanha, craving attachment. This is not merely desire as such, but precisely attachment to the outcome, to possession, to a particular state. The Buddha taught that as long as we are attached to things, to people, to ideas, to pleasures, or to the avoidance of pain, we shall suffer, for everything in this world is impermanent and subject to change. By releasing attachments, we free ourselves from suffering. This does not signify a renunciation of desires or goals, but a change in our attitude towards them, striving towards them without attachment to their outcome. This concept astonishingly echoes Haanel's teaching that one must realize a desire as an already accomplished fact, yet without clinging to it, allowing the universe to manifest it in the best possible way. The absence of attachment to the outcome paradoxically accelerates its manifestation, for it removes mental resistance and doubt. The ancient Chinese philosophy of Taoism, presented by Lao Tzu, also contains profound parallels. In the Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu writes, "He who knows he has enough is always rich." This simple yet profound phrase expresses the essence of contentment that does not depend on the accumulation of external advantages. True wealth, according to Lao Tzu, lies not in the quantity of what one possesses, but in one's attitude towards what one possesses, and in one's capacity to be content with it. An individual who constantly pursues more will never be satisfied, regardless of how much they acquire. But one who finds contentment in the present moment and values what they already possess will always feel rich and abundant. This is a direct confirmation of Haanel's idea that happiness is an inner state, not the result of external acquisitions. Parallels can also be drawn with more esoteric traditions. Hermeticism, an ancient tradition tracing its origins to the mythical Hermes Trismegistus, teaches that the all is mind, the universe is mental. This first principle of Hermeticism, known as the principle of mentalism, asserts that all reality is a creation of the universal mind. This is a concept that underlies Haanel's teaching on the world mind and how our individual consciousness, being a part of it, can shape reality. Kabbalah, the mystical tradition of Judaism, also speaks of the world being manifested through the 10 Sephirot, which represent emanations of the divine, and that thought and intention play a key role in creation. The Yoga Vasista, an ancient Indian text, describes how the world is a creation of consciousness, and that each individual creates their own universe through their thoughts and perceptions. These ancient teachings, scattered across continents and millennia, all point to the same fundamental truth. Reality is not fixed and independent of us. It is plastic and shaped by our consciousness. The outer world is not but a mirror of our inner state. Stoics taught us to control our judgments, Buddhists to release attachments, Taoists to find contentment in sufficiency, and Hermeticists and Kabbalists to comprehend the mental nature of all existence. Charles Haanel, in turn, synthesized these eternal principles into a practical system, accessible to all who are prepared to assume responsibility for their inner world and become conscious creators of their lives. His 16th lesson is not merely a theoretical discourse, it is a call to action, to the application of this ancient wisdom in daily life, to liberate oneself from the illusions of external control and attain true inner freedom and abundance. However, as we delve deeper into these ancient, at times esoteric concepts, it is astonishing to discover how modern science, seemingly progressing along an entirely different path, arrives at remarkably similar conclusions. It not merely confirms many of these intuitive insights, but also offers us a detailed explanation of the mechanisms by which our inner state shapes outer reality. This is not mysticism, it is biology, physiology, and psychology unfolding before us with each new discovery. Modern research in neuroplasticity, epigenetics, psychoneuroimmunology, and the placebo effect offers compelling evidence that our consciousness, our thoughts, beliefs, expectations, is not a passive observer but an active architect of our reality, down to the most fundamental biological processes. Consider, for example, neuroplasticity, a revolutionary concept that has overturned our understanding of the brain. For a long time, it was believed that the adult brain was a fixed structure that ceased to change after a certain age. However, the works of scientists such as Norman Doidge, author of the book The Brain That Changes Itself, published in 2007, have shown this to be untrue. The brain is remarkably plastic. It is capable of changing, reorganizing, and adapting throughout life under the influence of experience, learning, and even thoughts. This signifies that our mental states do not merely reflect brain activity, they actively shape its very structure. One of the most striking examples of neuroplasticity is the study conducted by Eleanor Maguire and her colleagues in 2004 with London taxi drivers. In London, to become a taxi driver, one must pass an examination known as the knowledge, to commit to memory 25,000 streets and an innumerable host of landmarks, as well as the optimal routes between them. This process takes an average of 3 to 4 years of intensive study. Researchers discovered that the posterior hippocampus, a region of the brain responsible for spatial memory and navigation, is significantly larger in volume in London taxi drivers than in a control group of ordinary drivers. Furthermore, the longer the taxi drivers worked, the larger their hippocampus became. This is direct proof that purposeful, sustained mental effort, that is, the constant retention in consciousness and operation of a complex city map, leads to physical changes in brain structure. If the constant study of a map can alter the brain, imagine what the constant retention in consciousness of a desired state of harmony and abundance, as Haanel teaches, can achieve. This is not merely a metaphor. It is a literal rewiring of neural connections that renders us more receptive to these states and more capable of manifesting them. Furthermore, epigenetics, the science studying changes in gene expression that are not linked to alterations in the DNA sequence itself. In other words, it is how our experience, environment, and, most importantly, our mental state can turn certain genes on or off, influencing our health, behavior, and even the transmission of these changes to offspring. Bruce Lipton, a cellular biologist and author of the book The Biology of Belief, was one of the pioneers in this field, demonstrating that not genes control our lives, but our perception of the environment. A startling experiment conducted by Carrie Diaz and Brian Ressler in 2014 demonstrated how traumatic experience can be transmitted across generations at an epigenetic level. Researchers trained male mice to fear the scent of cherry blossom, associating it with a mild electric shock. As a result, these mice began to avoid the scent. But the most astonishing event transpired next. Their offspring, who had never been subjected to the shock or encountered the scent, also exhibited heightened sensitivity and fear towards the cherry scent. And even the grandchildren of these mice demonstrated the same reaction. This was linked to epigenetic alterations in the sperm of the male mice, which influenced the brain development of their progeny. This experiment reveals that our experience, our reactions to the world, can literally reprogram not only ourselves but also influence the genetic predispositions of future generations. If fear can be transmitted in such a manner, what then of states of peace, confidence, and abundance? This unveils entirely new perspectives for understanding how our consciousness shapes not only our personal reality, but also a broader biological matrix. Psychoneuroimmunology is yet another field that demonstrates the profound connection between the mind, the brain, and the immune system. The pioneering works of Candace Pert, elucidated in her book Molecules of Emotion, published in 1997, showed that emotions are not merely abstract feelings, but biochemical substances, termed neuropeptides, which circulate throughout the body and interact with receptors on cell surfaces, including immune system cells. She named them molecules of emotion, emphasizing that mind and body are inseparable. Studies conducted by Janice Glaser and Ronald K. Colt Glaser have shown a direct link between stress and immune response. In one of their experiments, medical students experiencing stress during examination periods demonstrated a significant reduction in the activity of natural killer cells, immune system cells responsible for combating viruses and cancer cells. Their wounds healed more slowly, and their response to vaccines was less effective. This convincingly proves that chronic stress induced by negative thoughts and emotions weakens our physical defenses, rendering us more vulnerable to illnesses. Conversely, positive emotions, harmony, and inner tranquility, which Haanel urges us to cultivate, can strengthen immunity and foster healing. This is not merely an improvement in mood, it is a literal alteration of the body's chemical balance that supports health and well-being. And finally, the placebo effect, perhaps the most potent and enigmatic manifestation of the power of consciousness that has been scientifically documented. Henry Beecher, an anesthesiologist from Harvard, in his 1955 study, showed that up to 30 and sometimes even up to 60% of patients experience significant symptom relief or even complete healing simply from the belief that they are receiving an effective medication, though in reality it was a sugar pill or a saline injection. The placebo effect has been observed in the treatment of various conditions, from pain and depression to Parkinson's disease and even some forms of cancer. It is vital to note that the placebo effect is not a fabrication or a deception. These are real physiological changes that can be measured. A reduction in blood pressure, the release of endorphins, altered brain activity. This is our own inner pharmacist, activated by the power of belief and expectation. If a simple belief in a pill can induce such profound changes in the body, then imagine what a deep, unwavering faith that the desired state has already been attained, that harmony and abundance are already a part of your reality, as Charles Haanel teaches, is capable of. This is not merely hope, it is the activation of the body's internal resources for the manifestation of the desired. Thus, modern science, with its precise measurements and reproducible experiments, not merely confirms but deepens our understanding of ancient truths. It reveals that the mind is not separate from the body, but an integral part of it, capable of shaping and restructuring it at all levels, from neural networks to genetic expression and immune response. This is compelling evidence that Haanel's 16th lesson on spiritual understanding, on the truth that harmony and happiness are states of consciousness, not consequences of external circumstances, is not merely a philosophical discourse but a deeply rooted biological truth. These scientific discoveries, made in recent decades, find astonishing parallels in ancient traditions that for millennia taught of the primacy of consciousness and its capacity to shape reality. They possessed neither microscopes nor tomographs, yet they held profound intuition and a method of self-knowledge that led them to the same conclusions. Let us recall Hermes Trismegistus, the legendary sage whose teachings formed the foundation of Hermeticism. In the text known as the Poimandres, Hermes describes a vision of the divine mind, which is the source of all existence. The all is mind, the universe is mental, proclaims the first principle of Hermeticism. This signifies that all visible and invisible reality is a manifestation of the universal mind. Our individual consciousness, being a part of this great mind, possesses the capacity to shape its own reality, much as Haanel teaches us to realize a desire as an already accomplished fact. We do not merely dwell in a mental universe, we actively participate in its co-creation through our thoughts and beliefs. Hermeticism offers us a metaphysical framework wherein our inner work becomes a direct interaction with the fundamental nature of being. Buddhism, which originated in India more than 2.5 millennia ago, also accords a central place to the role of consciousness. In the Dhammapada, one of the most revered texts of the Pali Canon, The Buddha commences with the assertion, "Mind precedes all mental states. Mind is their chief, they are all mind-wrought. If with an impure mind one speaks or acts, then suffering follows him as the wheel follows the hoof of the ox. If with a pure mind one speaks or acts, then happiness follows him like a never-departing shadow." This verse, Dhammapada 1:1, is the quintessence of Buddhist teaching that our inner state, our thoughts and intentions are the primary cause of all our experiences, be they happiness or suffering. The Buddha taught that Tanya, craving attachment to things, to outcomes, to external circumstances, is the root of suffering. Liberation from this attachment, the attainment of inner peace and equanimity, regardless of external circumstances, is the path to nirvana. This is a direct echo of Haanel's assertion that harmony and happiness are states of consciousness, not dependent on the possession of things. In the ancient Indian tradition, the Yoga Vasista, one of the most extensive and profound philosophical treatises, also asserts that the world is a creation of consciousness. It describes how each individual creates their own universe through their thoughts and perceptions. According to the Yoga Vasista, the outer world has no independent existence, but is a projection of manas tristi, the creation of the mind. As in a dream we create entire worlds that appear real, so too in the waking state, our mind continuously projects the reality we perceive. This teaching urges us to realize this power of creation and learn to govern our minds to create desired reality, rather than being its passive observer or victim. Kabbalah, the mystical tradition of Judaism, also offers a profound understanding of the nature of creation and the role of consciousness. It teaches that prior to the creation of the world, there existed only Ein Sof, the infinite, unknowable divinity. The world manifested through the 10 Sephirot, 10 divine emanations, which are channels of divine energy and consciousness. Humanity, created in the image and likeness of the divine, possesses the capacity to influence these Sephirot through their thoughts, intentions, and actions. Through kavanot, focused intentions and meditations, Kabbalists strive to connect with divine energies and influence the manifestation of reality. Thought, thus, is not merely an inner activity but a potent force, capable of shaping worlds. The Stoics, such as Epictetus and Marcus Aurelius, who lived in ancient Greece and Rome, developed a philosophy entirely centered on the inner world of man. Epictetus, a former slave, taught, "It is not things that disturb people, but their judgments concerning things." This simple yet profound truth lies at the foundation of Stoicism. We cannot control external events, but we can always control our reaction to them, our judgments and our thoughts. Marcus Aurelius, emperor of the Roman Empire, in his Meditations, wrote of the necessity to cultivate an inner fortress, a citadel of the mind, that remains unperturbed in the face of any external tempests. He urged acceptance of that which is not within our power, and concentration on that which we can control, our character, our thoughts, and our actions. The Stoics, like Haanel, taught that true happiness and harmony come not from the possession of external advantages, but from an inner state of wisdom, virtue, and tranquility. Even in Zen Buddhism, which journeyed from India to China and then to Japan, we find parallels with Haanel's teaching. Bodhidharma, the legendary patriarch who brought Zen to China, taught of direct transmission from mind to mind and the necessity of perceiving one's true nature. Zen does not rely on scriptures or external rituals, but on a direct, intuitive apprehension of reality. It urges liberation from concepts, from attachment to thoughts, and to the experience of pure, unclouded consciousness. This state, known as Mushin, no mind or mind without mind, is not the absence of thought, but the absence of attachment to thoughts, which enables one to act spontaneously and effectively, being in complete harmony with the present moment. This inner freedom from mental attachments directly correlates with Haanel's idea that true happiness is not dependent on external conditions. All these ancient traditions, scattered across continents and millennia, offer a unified chorus of voices, asserting the same fundamental truth. Reality is not fixed and independent of us. It is plastic, it is mental, and it is shaped by our consciousness. The outer world is not but a mirror of our inner state. And though their languages and cultural contexts differ, their central message remains immutable. The key to harmony, happiness, and abundance lies within us. Charles Haanel in turn synthesized these eternal principles into a practical system, accessible to all who are prepared to assume responsibility for their inner world and become conscious creators of their lives. His 16th lesson is not merely a theoretical discourse, it is a call to action, to the application of this ancient wisdom in daily life, to liberate oneself from the illusions of external control and attain true inner freedom and abundance. The understanding of these principles, buttressed by both ancient wisdom and modern scientific data, unveils the path to profound transformations. And many individuals who achieved outstanding successes intuitively or consciously applied this knowledge, confirming their efficacy in practice. Their stories serve as vivid examples of how the inner state precedes outer manifestation. One of the most inspiring examples is the story of Earl Nightingale, the American motivational speaker and author. In 1956, Nightingale recorded a short audio program titled The Strangest Secret. At that time, he was an ordinary radio announcer, but his insight transformed not only his own life but also the lives of millions worldwide. The Strangest Secret was inspired by his own reflections on why some individuals achieve success while others do not. He concluded that the main secret lies in one simple principle: we become what we think about. This was a direct echo of the ideas elucidated in Haanel's The Master Key system, which Nightingale evidently studied. Nightingale asserted that if an individual constantly thinks about an objective, about a desired state, then their mind would labor towards its attainment. If, however, they dwell on fear, doubt, and failures, then precisely that will manifest in their life. His audio recording became the first motivational audio course in history, selling over 1 million copies, earning him a gold record. This was a phenomenal success which demonstrated that millions across the globe intuitively sensed the veracity of these principles and were ready to apply them in their lives. Earl Nightingale became living proof that conscious governance of one's thoughts and mental state is the key to achieving the desired. He did not await external circumstances to become successful. He first transformed his inner state, and then external circumstances followed suit. Another colossal example is Napoleon Hill, author of the legendary book Think and Grow Rich. His journey commenced with a fateful encounter with one of the wealthiest men of his time, Andrew Carnegie, in 1908. Carnegie, a visionary, presented the young Hill with an unusual task: to spend 20 years researching the lives of America's most successful individuals to uncover the common principles of their success. Hill accepted this challenge, and the subsequent 2 decades he dedicated to interviewing such giants as Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, Alexander Graham Bell, John Rockefeller, and many others. The result of this grand research was a philosophy of success expounded in his works. Although Hill did not always directly mention Charles Haanel, many of his key concepts, definiteness of purpose, mastermind, auto-suggestion, the power of thought, and transmutation of sexual energy, bear profound parallels with the teachings of the Master Key system. Haanel published his lessons in 1912, long before Hill completed his 20-year research. It is probable that Haanel's ideas were part of the intellectual landscape of that era, and Hill, being a diligent researcher of the principles of success, could not but encounter them. The essence of Hill's teaching, like Haanel's, lies in the truth that success begins in the mind. He asserted that whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. This is a direct confirmation of Haanel's thesis that desire, realized as an already accomplished fact, is the necessary condition for its manifestation. Hill showed that the world's most successful individuals did not merely await fortune to smile upon them. They actively shaped their fortune by cultivating a specific mental state and an unwavering faith in their objective. Steve Jobs, one of the most influential innovators of our time, also demonstrated a profound understanding of principles akin to Haanel's teachings, though he expressed them in his unique language. His famous commencement address at Stanford University in 2005 contained a phrase that became a mantra for many entrepreneurs: You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backward. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. This idea of connecting the dots backward reflects a profound faith and intuition, in an unseen hand that guides our path if we trust our inner vision. Jobs recounted how his fascination with calligraphy in college, which then seemed utterly useless, subsequently became the foundation for creating beautiful fonts on the first Macintosh computer. He did not then know why he needed this knowledge, but he followed his inner yearning. This is an example of how inner striving, unattached to immediate external gain, can pave the way for future achievements. Jobs constantly emphasized the importance of following his intuition, his heart, even when logic or external circumstances dictated otherwise. This profound trust in inner knowledge, in the unseen process of creation, is the quintessence of Haanel's 16th lesson on spiritual understanding, and the truth that true manifestation commences from within. And of course, it is impossible to overlook Oprah Winfrey, one of the most influential women in the world, who openly acknowledges the influence of the master key system on her life. Oprah, who built a media empire from naught and surmounted incredible difficulties, repeatedly mentioned Charles Haanel's book as one that transformed her worldview. She recounted how this book helped her comprehend that her thoughts and beliefs are potent instruments for shaping her reality. Oprah Winfrey, whose life is a vivid testament to willpower and positive thinking, actively advocates the ideas of gratitude, visualization, and conscious creation of one's life. She teaches that to achieve success, one must not only possess a goal but also believe in it with all one's soul, to feel it as an already accomplished fact. This is a direct application of Haanel's principles. Her public statements and recommendations of the Master Key system led to a resurgence of interest in this book and its ideas in the 21st century, demonstrating that its wisdom is as relevant as ever. Oprah's story is living proof that regardless of initial conditions, harmony and happiness, and subsequently material abundance, are the result of the purposeful cultivation of the correct mental state. These stories of Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill, Steve Jobs, and Oprah Winfrey are not merely anecdotes of success. They are potent empirical proofs that the principles elucidated in Charles Haanel's 16th lesson are efficacious. They demonstrate that the most outstanding achievements in human history were often the result not merely of arduous labor but of a profound inner conviction, an unwavering faith in the desired and conscious governance of their mental state. They did not await external circumstances to create their happiness or wealth. They created these states within themselves, and the outer world inevitably followed their inner vision. This confirms that harmony and happiness are not destinations but states of being that we can choose and cultivate right now, regardless of where we stand on our life's journey. These stories of Earl Nightingale, Napoleon Hill, Steve Jobs, and Oprah Winfrey are not merely anecdotes of success. They are potent empirical proofs that the principles elucidated in Charles Haanel's 16th lesson are efficacious. They demonstrate that the most outstanding achievements in human history were often the result not merely of arduous labor, but of a profound inner conviction and unwavering faith in the desired and conscious governance of their mental state. They did not await external circumstances to create their happiness or wealth. They created these states within themselves, and the outer world inevitably followed their inner vision. This confirms that harmony and happiness are not destinations but states of being that we can choose and cultivate right now, regardless of where we stand on our life's journey. The principles that Charles Haanel expounded more than a century ago have not remained to gather dust on the shelves of history. They permeate modern culture, psychology, sport, and business, often manifesting under different appellations, yet preserving their immutable essence. Modern science, which then lacked the instruments to measure the subtle connections between thought and matter, today provides compelling evidence that our inner world is not merely a reflection of the outer, but its active co-creator. In the depths of the human psyche, Carl Gustav Jung, the great Swiss psychiatrist, spoke of individuation, the process of becoming a whole personality, the integration of the conscious and the unconscious. This is a journey to inner harmony, to the realization of one's true self, which is independent of external attributes. Individuation is the quest for happiness and meaning within, not without, a direct echo of Haanel's thesis on the inner source of well-being. Abraham Maslow, one of the fathers of humanistic psychology, described peak experiences, moments of profound joy, ecstasy, and unity that individuals experience in their lives. These experiences are often unrelated to material achievements, but are inner states of consciousness arising in moments of deep engagement, creativity, or love. They demonstrate that the highest forms of happiness are accessible to us not through acquisition but through being. Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman, in his research on two systems of thinking, showed how our intuitive system 1, fast, emotional, and automatic, shapes most of our decisions and perceptions, often before the slower, logical system 2 engages. Haanel's principles in essence offer methods for training this system 1, the reprogramming of our deep-seated beliefs and reactions, so that they automatically guide us towards desired states of harmony and success. When we realize a desire as an already accomplished fact, we effectively train our intuitive system to act in accordance with this new conviction. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi, the Hungarian-American psychologist, introduced the concept of flow, a state of complete immersion in an activity wherein one loses the sense of time, of self, and experiences profound joy and satisfaction. This state, akin to Maslow's peak experiences, is internal and independent of external rewards. It is achieved through purposeful concentration, through harmony between challenge and skills, which again confirms that happiness is a state of consciousness that we can actively cultivate. Modern neurobiology buttresses these ideas. Dr. Norman Doidge, in his book The Brain That Changes Itself, 2007, convincingly showed the phenomenon of neuroplasticity, the astonishing capacity of the brain to reorganize itself, to form new neural connections throughout life. This signifies that our thoughts, beliefs, and habits are not merely ephemeral, they literally rewire our nervous system. By practicing Haanel's mental exercises, we do not merely change our attitude, we physically alter the structure of our brain, forging new pathways for happiness and success. Moreover, research in epigenetics led by scientists such as Bruce Lipton shows that our thoughts and emotions can influence the expression of our genes, proving that consciousness wields a profound influence over our biology. Although quantum entanglement, demonstrated by Alan Aspect's experiments in 1982, remains a field of fundamental physics, some thinkers perceive in it a metaphor for the profound interconnectedness between observer and observed, between the inner world and outer reality, which resonates with Haanel's ideas of the unity of consciousness and manifestation. In the realm of sport, where results are measured in fractions of a second and precise hits, the mental state is as critical a factor as physical conditioning. Michael Jordan, the basketball legend, was renowned not only for his incredible talent, but also for his unwavering belief in victory. He often spoke of the zone, a state of complete mental and physical fusion with the game, when every movement seemed intuitive and flawless. Jordan visualized his shots, his victories long before they transpired, creating an inner state of triumph that subsequently manifested on the court. Kobe Bryant, his successor, developed this philosophy into the Mamba mentality, an obsessive devotion to perfection, encompassing hours of mental rehearsal, visualization, and profound faith in his abilities. For Bryant, success was not the result of chance, but a consequence of the purposeful cultivation of an inner state that permitted no defeat. In business, where the stakes are even higher and competition is ruthless, leaders who have achieved outstanding successes often demonstrate a profound understanding of principles akin to Haanel's lessons. Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, built an empire based on a long-term vision and an unwavering faith in the customer, often disregarding short-term losses and criticism. His inner conviction in the correctness of his chosen path was stronger than any external obstacles. Elon Musk, founder of Tesla and SpaceX, is known for his audacious goals which to many seemed impossible. His capacity to hold the image of the future in his consciousness, despite numerous setbacks and skepticism, is a vivid example of how inner vision can reformat outer reality. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors of all time, is famed for his composure and emotional discipline. His success is founded upon a rational, stable inner state that enables him to make sagacious decisions without succumbing to market panic. He comprehends that true wealth emanates from inner wisdom, not from external fluctuations. Even early industrial giants, such as Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, and Thomas Edison, were driven not merely by a thirst for profit, but by a profound, almost mystical faith in their ideas and the capacity to realize them. They created their world from within. However, like any potent instrument, the principles of the master key system can be misunderstood or misapplied, leading to undesirable consequences. One of the most prevalent dangers is the descent into so-called naive positivism or magical thinking. This is the conviction that it is sufficient merely to wish for something, and it shall materialize without any effort or action. Haanel, however, always emphasized that mental work is but the initial part of the process, which must be inseparably linked with purposeful, inspired actions. He did not advocate passive waiting for a miracle, but active co-creation where thought is the blueprint and action is its realization. Another snare is the denial of reality. Some individuals, in attempting to adhere to the principles of positive thinking, begin to ignore or suppress their true feelings, refusing to acknowledge difficulties, problems, or suffering. This leads to the creation of an illusory world where negative emotions are deemed bad and must be banished. True spiritual understanding, however, lies not in the denial of reality, but in the alteration of our relationship to it. This signifies the recognition and acceptance of all aspects of life, and then a conscious choice of how we respond to them, how we utilize them for growth. A refusal to acknowledge pain or a problem does not render it non-existent, it merely deprives us of the opportunity to transmute it. Finally, there exists the risk of toxic spirituality, wherein the principles of self-development are employed to judge or blame others. In this distorted interpretation, if someone encounters difficulties, they are accused of having attracted them through their negative thoughts or inability to think correctly. This is not only unjust, but also contradicts the spirit of compassion and empathy that lies at the foundation of any true spiritual teaching. Haanel's principles are aimed at the expansion of personal capabilities and responsibility, not the creation of a new form of victimization. They urge inner work that leads to freedom, not to self-blame or the blaming of others. The true application of the Master Key system demands wisdom, discernment, and constant introspection to avoid these pitfalls and employ its power for genuine growth and well-being. To integrate these profound principles into your daily life requires not merely intellectual comprehension, but systematic practice. The 16th lesson of the Master Key system calls for discipline of consciousness, for the purposeful cultivation of inner states. The following practices, designed for a 30-day cycle, will assist you in reprogramming your inner world and beginning to manifest desired changes in the outer. Remember, consistency and sincerity are more vital than intensity. The first practice, the silence and meditation. This technique is the cornerstone of mental discipline. Asterisk, what to do. Find a quiet place where you will not be disturbed. Sit in a comfortable posture with a straight back. Close your eyes and focus on your breathing. Permit thoughts to come and go, without clinging to them or judging them. Your objective is simply to observe the stream of consciousness, returning your attention to your breath each time you become distracted. This is a training in mindfulness and control over attention. Asterisk, how many minutes per day? Begin with 10 minutes per day, gradually increasing to 15 to 20 minutes by the end of the 30-day period. It is best to perform this practice in the morning, before the bustle of the day commences. Asterisk, on which day to begin feeling the effect. You will begin to notice the effect within 3 to 5 days. The mind will become calmer, reactions to stress less acute, and a sense of inner quietude and clarity will emerge. The second practice, visualization of the desired. This practice directly actualizes Haanel's principle, to realize a desire as an already accomplished fact. Asterisk, what to do. Twice daily, in the morning upon waking and in the evening before sleep, sit or lie in a comfortable position. Close your eyes and vividly imagine the desired outcome. This may be new employment, improved relationships, robust health, financial prosperity, or a sense of profound inner harmony. Visualize it as thoroughly as possible. What you behold, what you hear, what you feel, what scents are present. Most importantly, feel the emotions you would experience were your desire already fulfilled. Joy, gratitude, contentment. Asterisk, how many minutes per day? 10 to 15 minutes per session, twice daily. Asterisk, on which day to begin feeling the effect. Within 7 to 10 days you will notice an intensification of motivation, the emergence of new ideas and opportunities, and a profound sense of confidence in achieving the goal. The third practice, affirmations and declarations. Words possess immense power to shape our reality. Asterisk, what to do. Choose 1 or 2 positive affirmations that reflect your desired state or objective. For example, I am happy and grateful for the abundance that fills my life, or I am calm, confident, and full of energy. Repeat these affirmations aloud or to yourself, with full conviction and feeling several times a day. Articulate them as if they were already truth. You may write them on cards and place them in locations you frequent. Asterisk how many minutes per day? 5 minutes several times a day, especially when you feel despondency or doubt. Asterisk on which day to begin feeling the effect. Within 5 to 7 days you will notice how your inner dialogue shifts, negative thoughts diminish, and self-assurance grows. The fourth practice, journaling the future and the present. This practice helps to solidify mental states on paper. Asterisk what to do daily. Dedicate time to journaling, but do not merely record the events of the past day. Write about your desired future as if it were already unfolding in the present. Describe your feelings, experiences, and successes that you are already experiencing. For example, today I am grateful that my new employment brings me immense satisfaction and financial stability. I revel in each passing day. This helps to reprogram the subconscious mind and create the sensation of an already accomplished fact. Asterisk how many minutes per day? 15 to 20 minutes. Asterisk on which day to begin feeling the effect. Within 10 to 14 days you will notice an intensification of the clarity of your desires, and you will begin to identify and surmount limiting beliefs. The fifth practice, cultivation of gratitude. Gratitude is one of the most potent states capable of instantly altering your vibration. Asterisk what to do daily, in the morning or evening. Record in a dedicated notebook 5 to 10 things for which you are genuinely grateful. These may be major events or the most mundane things: a cup of coffee, the sunlight, a stranger's smile, the health of loved ones. The main point is not merely to list, but to truly feel the emotions of gratitude. Asterisk how many minutes per day? 5 to 10 minutes. Asterisk on which day to begin feeling the effect. You will feel an immediate uplift in mood and a shift in perspective within 3 to 5 days. The world will begin to appear more abundant and benevolent. The sixth practice, mental rehearsal. This technique is especially beneficial before significant events. Asterisk what to do. Before any upcoming event that causes you apprehension or demands maximal efficacy, for example, an interview, an important meeting, a public speaking engagement, an examination, dedicate time to mental rehearsal. Close your eyes and play through the entire scenario in your mind from beginning to end, envisioning everything unfolding perfectly. Visualize yourself calm, confident, competent, and successful. Feel the sense of satisfaction from a task superbly executed. Asterisk how many minutes per day? 5 to 10 minutes immediately before the event. Asterisk on which day to begin feeling the effect. The effect of this practice is often immediate, reducing anxiety and augmenting your confidence and performance in the actual situation. The seventh practice, shifting focus. This practice cultivates your capacity to govern your attention. Asterisk what to do. Throughout the day, whenever you apprehend yourself entertaining a negative thought, worry, doubt, or a phrase such as "I shall be happy when," consciously shift your focus. Instantly ask yourself, for what may I be grateful right now? Or what positive declaration can I utter now? Or what action can I take right now to feel happy? This may be a deep breath, a smile, a recollection of something pleasant, or the repetition of an affirmation. Asterisk how many minutes per day as needed throughout the day. Asterisk on which day to begin feeling the effect. While this practice demands constant vigilance, you will begin to notice that negative thoughts linger less and less, and your capacity to manage your disposition significantly improves within a few days. These 7 practices, performed consistently over 30 days, shall become your personal key to the 16th lesson of the Master Key System. They will enable you not merely to comprehend, but to experience firsthand that harmony and happiness are not destinations, but states of consciousness that we choose and cultivate from within. Thus, Charles Haanel's 16th lesson unveils before us a fundamental truth which, when embraced and comprehended, is capable of overturning our perception of reality. It teaches us that harmony and happiness are not external rewards dependent upon the possession of things or the achievement of specific objectives, but inner states of consciousness that we may choose and cultivate at any moment. Things and circumstances are merely the consequence of this correct mental state, not its cause. To realize a desire as an already accomplished fact is not naive dreaming, but a potent act of creation that initiates a chain reaction of manifestation. Ultimately, all the wisdom of the 16th lesson may be distilled into one concise phrase: your inner state is the blueprint for your outer reality. This lesson is but one step on the path to fully mastering the Master Key system. In our subsequent encounters, we shall delve deeper into how this inner world interacts with a broader, universal reality, unveiling new horizons of understanding and demonstrating that each of us holds the key to boundless potential. Imagine an ancient, mighty oak, its roots delving deep into the earth, its crown reaching towards the heavens. Its strength, its majestic beauty, and its longevity emanate not from external adornments, but from an unseen yet indomitable life force that pulsates within. So too shall you. By cultivating harmony and happiness within the depths of your being, unveil your true, boundless nature, permitting it to manifest in all its splendor in the world around you.